also try and go for courses like that are available for free on Udemy and Coursera and Harvard EDX and stuff. So we'll also have a look at whether these courses are worth doing it. And towards the end of it, we'll look at how to bag internship in finance domain after you have done all these things and what would be the most ideal way in order to look for internships. And then towards the end, we'll have a dedicated Q&A session where you can just throw away some questions at us and we'll try to answer those questions. So, Shashwat, can you?
Aryan, I'm sorry to interrupt. Someone just said that your voice is very less. So can you speak a little louder and clearer, if that's okay?
Is this better? Can you guys please?
Prachi, is this better? Okay, perfect. Yes.
Yeah, so first we'll start with careers in finance. So, Shashwat, can you just move to next slide? Okay, so let me just make this thing very clear that when it comes to finance, okay, so can I have an idea about how many of you are already pursuing some careers in finance or are looking forward to pursue some careers in finance? Let me know in the chat box if you guys are already doing some courses in finance. Let me know in the chat box. Okay, Abhigyan is giving CFA level 1 in November. Siddharth is also pursuing CFA level 1. What about others, guys? Let me know in the chat box. FRM part 2, Nirbhik. Great. Part 1. B. Sai Ritesh is giving CFA level 1. That's good. So Gaurav is giving CA Inter. Prachi is thinking for FRM and CFM certifications are already done. That's great, Prachi. Okay, so first thing that Gaurav just told that he is doing CA Inter. So there is a slight distinction between careers in finance and careers in accounting. I mean, most of the people think that they are synonymous, but in fact there is a slight difference. While accounting is something that is just about the account stuff of it, but an organization ideally has two departments. One is accounts department and the other one is a finance department. So generally the accounts department look at the accounting stuff to it, where there are generally some ACCA, CA, CPA, CMA, and normal accountants at the bottom of the whole chain. So that is about the accounting side of it. But when it comes to careers in finance, it is more about taking those accounting numbers and accounting values and getting some insights out of it and using that to make better decisions about the company, whether it is regarding investment, whether it is regarding managing risk of the company, whether it is about financial planning. And all those things are done in the finance department of an organization, while the CA stuff is the accounting part. So in this webinar, our focus will be limited to careers in finance only, not the accounting part of it. And so these are the top four certifications, as you can see on the slide. The first one, which is the highly sought after course in finance, is the CFA. The other one is CAIA. The third one is CFP, and the fourth one is FRM. So CFA, it is kind of a master's in finance, which you can do from your home only. So it has three levels. So if you can allow me to share my screen, let me just take you through the website and we can go through the CFA Institute website and we can discuss. I hope my screen is visible, guys. Can you just let me know?
Yeah, perfect.
So CFA curriculum is a very general curriculum in finance where you study all those aspects of finance which are generally taught in FRM. For example, risk, you'll study about alternative investment, which is studied in CIA course, and other aspects to it like global macro situation, the economics part, the quants part, and financial statement analysis that is generally done in accounting. And equity investment, fixed income securities, fixed income are generally the bonds. For example, derivatives include futures, forwards, and options that will study investment. And then alternative investment are other sources of investment such as private equity, venture capital. These are also taught in the CFA curriculum, and portfolio management and wealth planning is also part of it. So CFA generally has three levels. All these three levels will have a different weightage to all these eight topics that you'll study in the CFA curriculum. And generally, pass rate these days post COVID has come to an all-time low, which is around 25 to 35% for level one, and then it increased slightly to CFA level two and level three. It is around 45 plus percent, 45 to 55%. In terms of cost, these certifications do might cost you around 3.5 to 4 lakhs, including coaching, including books, including the CFA Institute membership fees and the exam fees as well. So this CFA certification is equivalent to a master's degree in most of the countries, including India. So, and for job seekers as well as the companies that recruit folks from finance domain, they do hire CFA and they keep them at the top of the list when it comes to hiring CFA and FRM certificate holders in particular. So that was about CFA. You can go through the website. It talks about every aspect to it. What would be the weightage? What would be the topic that you'll study? And um, all those things I mentioned in the website. I'm just skimming through you the website. Also, the ethics and standard part is also tested in the CFA curriculum, which is like how you should participate while you are in the industry level, and all those positives and negatives that you'll have to take care of while you are at work. The next sought after certification is FRM certification. FRM stands for Financial Risk Manager. There, people often get confused between which certification they might go for, FRM or CFA. While CFA you can start when you are in your final year of your college, FRM you can start just after completing your 12th standard, right? So FRM and CFA, the distinction, major distinction is that FRM is a very niche oriented. It talks about risk part only. As someone who has done FRM, so FRM talks about various risk elements such as credit risk, market risk, and operational risk, while CFA is a very general uh, finance certification where you'll not only study about risk but also about alternative investments, also about economics, also about the standards, and all those general things that are not taught in the FRM curriculum are covered in the CFA curriculum. But even after all of this, 40% of the syllabus is almost similar in both these certifications. FRM has two levels, which you can complete those two levels in around 1.5 year, while CFA might ask you for a greater time commitment, which would be around 1.5 to 2 years at least. Uh, so let me just give you an overview of the FRM certification. By the way, FRM, just like CFA, is also recognized as a master degree in almost 20 plus countries, and you can look at the global recruiters that hire CFA folks on this website only. And as you can see, the degree level. So in India as well, it is equivalent to a master's degree standard, which is framework level 9. So after you complete your FRM with getting a charter, you will be considered as someone who has completed his master's by doing FRM. So that is the big plus point about FRM when it comes to syllabus. So FRM syllabus, as I said, has two levels. Book one, level one will test you on four books, which is the quants, the financial markets and products such as derivatives, options, and Greeks. And the other two books are valuation and risk models and foundations of risk management, while level two will provide you a deep dive into various risk elements such as credit risk, market risk, operational risk. So for those who are having no idea about what is a credit risk, what is a market risk, what is an operational risk, so let me just give you a small idea about what these risks are. So let's say you are working in a bank, right? So in a bank, you'll find companies that are providing loans to their customers, right? And there is a good chance that they might default. So that is a risk for a company, and that is called as a credit risk. Similarly, operational risk. There are scams happening all over in, let's say, Yes Bank, for example. So as a risk manager, you'll keep an eye on all those things that are happening into a company so that you can better prepare for these uncertainties that might take place. Similarly, and let's say market risk volatility is at an all-time high right now, right? there are news about recession, there is news about COVID, there is news about war. So all these things will create some uncertainty in the market. And as a bank, you have a lot of capital, you have a lot of people's money. So you'll have to manage these things. So that is the stuff that is taught in the FRM certifications. And as I said, it is a very niche certification that will talk about the risk element only. And in terms of jobs, so both FRM and CFA has a very good job prospects in India, especially since there is a lot of back end work that is going on in our country. So there will be a lot of options. So for FRM, if I had to say, you can be a risk analyst, you can be a market risk analyst or a credit risk or operational risk analyst. Similarly, you can be into equity research. Equity research is like studying stocks, whether they are good or bad, providing your own opinion into it. Similarly, you can be a credit analyst. You can analyze various loans of a companies. uh, when it comes to CFA, you can get into investment banking, you can get into risk as well, you can get into normal trading desk. For example, in India, you will not generally find a lot of banks having their trading desk in our country, but generally people end up getting those roles as well in other countries too. So this was about the FRM part and CFA part. And by the way, guys, if you have any queries, specific queries about whether CFA is good, whether FRM is good, there is a particular dedicated website called 300hours.com. You can visit this website and you can look for particular queries or a specific query that you might have around FRM and CFA. And in fact, CIA course as well um, helps you. This website also has a dedicated portal about the CIA course, so you can look into it as well. Also, ESG, I have not mentioned in the PPT itself, but ESG in itself is a very growing space. So those of you who are planning to go into sustainable investment, so that is a very new topic that has come into the market, which is ESG. So ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. So what happens these days is that people are looking to invest into companies that are, let's say, doing good for the environment, doing good for the society, and in general, they are good as well. So people love to invest in those companies that are environmentally sound or their governance is very sound. So there are news around the COP26 event that recently happened in February 2022, where India gave a target of 2070. By 2070, will become a carbon neutral country. So that is where ESG comes into the picture, and that is where, as normal investors like us, can invest into companies that are ESG sound. Let's say, what do I mean by ESG sound? Companies, let's say a company that is into manufacturing weapons, or a company that is highly into manufacturing of tobacco, which is harmful for the society. So these companies which are very harmful for the people in general are not ESG sound companies. And ESG in itself, so there is a lot of research work that is going on in India as well, and that is where I'm currently interning as well. So ESG in itself as a space has become very large, so people can explore careers into ESG space as well, apart from doing traditional certification like CFA and FRM. So that these things you can also explore as well. And when it comes to CFA certification, so CFA certification stands for someone's mic is on, I guess. Yeah.
Yes.
So the CFP certification as well, CFP stands for Certified Financial Planner. So as someone from our generation, we are very much exposed to the investment avenues that we can invest our money into, right? We can invest in the stock market, we can invest into fixed income. We know our risk appetite. As a young person, you are very risky. Generally, as an old person, you might not be willing to take a lot of risk. And that is where certified financial planners come into pictures. So companies like normal investment brokerage firm, let's say Kotak or ICICI or Axis, they do hire a lot of certified financial planners who plan the retirement. For example, if someone has to plan for retirement, let's say, so they'll prepare a proper roadmap for their client, who will invest or will let them their clients know that that is where you should invest your money into, because this is your risk appetite, because this is your capital amount, and this is your SIP amount. All these things you factor in and you prepare a plan for your client who will pay you a commission, or let's say if you're working for a bank will pay you your service charge, and that is how the CFP certification works. So in CFP generally you have 6 exam levels, although they have very recently updated that. So uh, let me just take you through the website. So yeah, there are these levels are tested: normal, conduct, and regulation. Every certification has this professional conduct and regulation on how you should be at your work desk or your workstation, and what are the do's and don'ts at your workplace. And then normal risk management is also covered: tax planning, retirement planning, estate planning, and psychological and financial planning is also covered into the CFP certification. Uh, in terms of the time requirement of this certification, it is generally less than 1 or 1.5 years. And if you're already a CFA or an FRM, that might take you a little less time to write these exams because you've already syllabus uh, that is already covered. And these are the pass rate of this certification of CFA. It is generally pretty high as compared to CFA and FRM. So as someone who might be scared of exams like CFA and FRM, which are having pass rates of less than 40%, this certification you can target given your goals are also aligned to this CFP certification. If you are planning to get into this retirement planning, tax planning, and other risk management part of it, then you can go for CFP certification. And also the fourth certification, as per the PPT, was CAIA. So CAIA is a certified analyst in alternative investments. So those, like someone has a question, I guess. I'll get back to your question in some time. So I was talking about the CAIA certification. So CAIA certifications talks about the alternative investments. These are the investment venues that are not directly accessible to a normal public. So as a normal investor, let's say Arun wants to invest some money, so he might end up investing into a bond, he might end up investing into a stock market. But there are some avenues where you'll require a lot of capital. Let's say you want to invest into private equity or into venture capital or into a real estate investment trust, the REITs as they are called. So for those professionals who want to get exposure to these alternative investment avenues such as private equity, venture capital, and real estate investment trust, they can go for the CAIA certification. And pass rates, again, it has also two levels, and pass rate is again very similar to CFA and FRM certification. And in terms of costs, I think the cheapest one of all these four alternative would be a CFP, and CFP also has its India Society, where you can get concessions on whether you have already done CA or whether you have already done these certifications. These things can also be factored into the picture. CFA also provides you with scholarships. So as someone who thinks that giving cost for shelling out around $800 to $900 for a one level CFA exam, you might go for and write some scholarship exam for CFA. CFA India Society do provide you with scholarship as well. Uh, and for FRM, again, it might cost you around less than 1.5 to 2 lakh rupees in general. And so is the case with CAIA certification. So Sashwat, maybe you can go through the next part of our PPT, which is NCFM versus NISM certifications. And
Before
also, I
Aryan,
think
we
I
move
should
on
take
to
this.
the. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, before we move on to the next part, just wanted to summarize some key differences between the four courses. So, guys, FRM is very risk oriented into risk management. So, the kind of roles you will be looking at, just like Aaron said, will be managing risk for companies, banks, etc., etc. CFA, on the other hand, is a broader course that allows you to learn economics, corporate finance, and a lot of other roles. So, a lot of investment bankers generally go for CFA because they don't want to restrict themselves into FRM, because risk management is sort of niche, right? FRM is a niche course. CFA is a slightly broader course that can help you in your career in finance in general. Now, if you talk about CFP, that is generally more of a client facing sort of a role. Like Aaron said, you're dealing with clients, you're helping people plan their retirement, and most of them are generally high wealth individuals. Okay, so if you're someone who were scared of finance because you think it's too back end, it's too boring, and I don't see myself doing all that. So I think that is a good career option because then you'll be directly dealing with people, you'll be bringing business to the company. So that is a slightly more people facing role of such. Okay. And CAIA is something that revolves around you planning your investment opportunities, and it gets you working with hedge funds, VCs. So if that sort of environment excites you, because all these companies are really high stakes, right? Hedge funds are managed and run by people who are really, really wealthy, right? These kind of people invest into hedge funds. So if that is what excites you, then CAIA is the degree for you. And also, are in some residual questions that people have asked. Someone has asked you, how
Sure,
much
let me
does
take those
FRM
questions.
costs? Yeah.
So someone is asking, Kashyap is asking how much does FRM cost? So
Yeah.
for level one, it is around 950 USD, and for level two, it would be around 550 USD. In terms of rupees, it would be around 70 plus 40,000. It would be 1 lakh 10,000 approx. And you might or might not take up coaching for your FRM level one and level two. That generally depends. If you want to factor in coaching too, so it will be around 30 and 30,000 for your level one and level two. So 70,000 plus 40,000 plus 60,000 for level one and level two coaching. And then for calculator, which is generally BA2 plus professional, you'll have to shell out around 3 to 4,000 rupees for that as well. So these are generally some of the general costs that are charged.
Another thing, Aryan, if you can also shed some light on whether only doing one level of FRM is worth it, or you should generally do both the levels. And do people in the finance field generally pursue FRM a lot, or is it still niche as a certification?
Okay, so FRM is still niche, but whether someone should do both the levels or should go for only one level, I think one should go for both the levels because the general understanding of various risk concepts are studied in the level two syllabus only. So in level one, you might learn basic finance concepts such as what are the various financial markets and products that are available into the market, let's say futures, forwards, options, or Greeks. But the deep understanding of risk is studied in the level two curriculum only, credit risk, market risk, and operational risk. So that is the one thing. Also, if you have started FRM, you might would want to get a charter as well, right? And you cannot get a charter by completing only level one. You will also have to submit a 2 year of